Ethiopia is located in the Horn of Africa. The country is one of the greatest violators of freedom of expression. Ethiopia currently ranks 143 in the Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Index. Critics usually say that even though countries like USA, UK, and Sweden gives a lot of money in development aid, there are no improvements in democracy and human rights. The country's constitution explicitly protects freedom of expression, but the government is not tolerant of diversity of opinions. When journalists and bloggers tries to tell the truth about violation against human rights, they are silenced. Ethiopia is not a democratic country, and journalists, opposition politicians, and human rights activists are getting jailed, often in the prisons of Kality and Kilento. The anti-terrorism law enacted 2009 has been used to prosecute journalists and bloggers under vague provisions. It contains unacceptably broad definitions for terrorist acts and has been widely criticized. There was a need for an alternative voice, and the Zone 9ers therefore began blogging and using social media to write on subjects related to human rights. The name of the group, Zone 9, refers to the zones of the notorious Kality prison. The prison has 8 zones, but the 9th zone refers to the rest of Ethiopia. Even being outside of the prison walls, you are never truly free. Any free-thinking individual who speaks out against injustice are risking to be arrested. They had campaigns about respecting the Constitution, stopping censorship, and respecting the right to demonstrate. They visited political prisoners and journalists and wanted to bring the public's attention to them. Zone 9 did a report and invited journalists to report and document about the repression they were facing. The group's work was constitutional, but the government labeled it a crime. The bloggers were under surveillance and harassment. April 25th, they were arrested, and the day after, 3 journalists were also arrested. The arrests were taken to the federal police station called Makilawi. It's known for torture, poor detention conditions, and unlawful interrogation tactics.
What is their crime?
They demanded the Ethiopian government start to respect Constitution and end impunity in the country.
So, what are they accused of?
They're accused of working with foreign human rights organizations.
What?
And it's also even worse, they're also accused of terrorism.
How can working with human rights NGOs become an act of terrorism?
The Ethiopian government changed their original accusation from working with human rights organizations to serious terrorism charges when they get criticized for their first allegations. The government wants to jail the bloggers to silence them.
The bloggers and journalists are now in the prisons of Kality and Kilento. The situation in the prisons is horrible. Food is scarce, and there are hundreds of people in the zones. There are rats and fleas, and the guards beat and torture prisoners. Friends and family are forced to go through tremendously humiliating searches at the gates of the prison when they are allowed to visit, if allowed to visit at all. What the bloggers and journalists did is honorable. Ethiopia is in great need of change. There is still light. The jailings have sparked an outrage around the world, especially in social media. You can help too. Use the hashtag #FreeZone9Bloggers on social media. Help spread the information and let the world know. You can also read more about this at www.trialtrackerblog.org. Without freedom of expression, there is no freedom. The blogger's motto is, "We blog because we care." Now we can care for them. We say, #FreeZone9Bloggers.